very good evening and welcome to Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio, Crystal Clear DAB and AM 1368, here to bring you your weekly roundup of all the sporting results across Manx football, rugby and hockey over the next hour or so. So let's get you started with all the classified results from today, Saturday the 18th of November 2023, starting with football. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Ayr United versus Corinthians postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. St John's United versus St George's postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Rushen United 4, Braddon 0. Peel 1, Laxey 0. Douglas Royal 0, Ramsey 3. Morown versus Union Mills postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. In DPS Limited Division 2, Governors Athletic 2, Colby 5. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 0, Castletown 7. Jims versus Onken postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Douglas High School Old Boys versus Maloo postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Pulrose United 2, Douglas and District 4. In Canada Life Combination 1, Corinthians 4, Ayr United 2. Braddon versus Rushen United postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Laxey 3, Peel 1. Ramsey versus Douglas Royal postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Union Mills 3, Morown 3. In DPS Limited Combination 2, Colby 3, Governors Athletic 3. Douglas Athletic 5, Foxdale 1. Castletown 1, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 6. Onken versus Jims postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. And Maloo versus Douglas High School Old Boys postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. And now the results in Manx Rugby for Saturday the 18th of November 2023. The Regional 2 Northwest. Crewe and Nantwich 39, Douglas 18. In Isle of Man friendlies, Vagabonds 0, Ramsey 12. Vagabonds 7, Southern Nomads 0. Ramsey 24, Southern Nomads 14. And now to the Manx Mixed Hockey Leagues. The Mixed Premier League. Vikings B 4, Ramsey A 6. Valkyries A 2, Castletown Celts 2. Vikings A 3, Backers A 5. Backers B 2, Harlequins A 5. In Mixed Division 1, Backers C 2, Castletown Southerners 3. Castletown Camags 2, Vikings C 3. Valkyries C 2, Valkyries B 6. In Mixed Division 2, Backers Colts 0, Castletown Cushags 1. Ramsey Ravens 1, Valkyries D 3. Vikings D 13, Vikings E 1. In Mixed Division 3, Ramsey Rookies 2, Castletown Cosney 0. Harlequins B 7, Backers D 1. Harlequins C 5, Castletown Carrick 1. The Mixed Under-15s League. Harlequins 3, Backers A 1. Valkyries versus Castletown Sharks awaiting result. Backers B versus Castletown Sabres awaiting result. And Ramsey Rogues and Rascals versus Vikings awaiting result. Those are your classified football, rugby and hockey results here on the Isle of Man for the 18th of November 2023. Well, let's start taking a look again at the footballing action that's taken place across the Isle of Man today. Several games, as we've mentioned, already affected by what was some quite harsh weather conditions on the Isle of Man overnight, but still plenty to see out on the pitch today and plenty to talk about as well. And it seems high time he's hightailed it back from covering one of the games over at Ballafletcher today. Good evening, Tony Mepham.
Good evening, Rob. And quite a few postponements, giving us a little bit of a problem with the Railway Cup, but we can, tweak with that. It just depends how the results go next week, but some interesting scorelines.
Indeed. Well, we'll just start by mentioning again, if you just missed it, the 3 games that were postponed in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, all due to waterlogged pitches, and they were Ayr United versus Corinthians, St John's United versus St George's, and Moran versus Union Mills. They will be rearranged in due course. But there were still 3 games that went ahead in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. We'll start out at Croyt Lowy, the game between Russian United and Braddon. Russian United starting to find a bit more form over the last few weeks after a challenging start to the season. Meanwhile, Braddon, after what was in some areas a positive start right at the start of the season, they've started to find the going tough in the last few weeks, and they've found it difficult against Croyt Lowy. Russian United, another good result for them today, Tony, beating Braddon by 4-0.
Yeah, it's a great result, and climbs them above Laxey in the league table as well, because great performance by Aaron Hawley. I won't name his age, but I will say that he plays Masters football, and he's sort of leading by example, and a hat-trick for him, so that's a good sort of shift for him in that 90 minutes. And Joe Reid got the other one, and Joe's proven a good goal scorer for Russian, because that's his, third, fourth of the season, scoring all important goals. But as you rightly say with Braddon, and it's not panic stations when you look at the league table, it's so close down the bottom 4, bottom 5 places. You don't expect Laxey to be there at the end, but the rest of them are all battling for points. And, Braddon have got so many good young players in there. They will get better as the season goes on, but at the moment, clinging on. And, hopefully with the results coming up over the next few games might just lift them out of that danger zone where Braddon are sharing that sort of challenge with Moran, Union Mills, Douglas Royal, and you'd even put St George's in that as well.
Well, we've talked about Braddon there. It may not, from their side of things, help them, although it's beyond their control that the likes of Douglas Royal and Moran, for example, have started picking up a couple of points in the last couple of weeks as well. So for Braddon, where do you think the points are going to start coming from again for them, possibly?
Well, it's just it's one of those. They've already done it this year, haven't they, where they beat St George's and 6 goals. That's what they've got to do. They've got good goal scorers in there, but it's just keeping those clean sheets if they can, and that's proven a problem for them. But Will Smith's a great coach, and they've got a good team around them, and it's just a question of developing them, because they've come from Division 2, they're in the Premier League now, they're mixing it with the big boys. And when you look at Russia, they're one of the top sides. Okay, they've had a tough start to this year, but 4-0 isn't a hammering. Okay, it's a comfortable victory for Russian, but they're still sort of chipping away, and I'm sure those performances will come.
And for Russian United, another good result for them, and Aaron Hawley well amongst the goals again, been in great scoring form for them already this season. And Russian United, it was a tricky start for them. Some people wondering, just why weren't the results coming? What's been the difference in the last few weeks that form has really started to pick up for them?
Well, I think it's just a question of getting used to how each other plays, because there's new players who've come in, new managers come in, Andrew Moody, and he's got vast experience. So it's just getting over to them in the training sessions and in the game sort of plan, if you like, to say where they want to go. And again, they've tightened things up at the back. I don't know what the team was today, but Dean Kearns, your top goalkeeper. So, if they're sort of conceding too many, it's that sort of wall in front of them that needed to tighten up. So whether they've changed things around, we'll look at the team sheet in the week. But certainly today, good performance by them. Goals, scored by a bit of a Russian legend, if you like, in Aaron Hawley. And it's all going to plan for them at the moment.
Well, we'll just have a brief interlude. We've got another hockey result in. Thank you very much. It's finished in the Mixed Under-15s League. Ramsey Rogues and Rascals 4, Vikings 2. And still 2 other results to come in from the Mixed Under-15s League. We may get them in the next few minutes or during the show. We'll wait to see on those. If we do get updates, we'll let you know as soon as possible. Back to the footballing side of things. Peel up against Laxey. Laxey touted at the start of the season to potentially be pushing towards the top, but results and consistency not quite going their way recently. Meanwhile, they came up against the Peel side, defending champions, of course, as we've mentioned already this season. And Peel, after a bit of a tough start by their own high standards toward the start of the season, they've really started to pick that up, and today getting another 3 points on the board today, just about up against Laxey. Peel 1, Laxey 0.
Yeah, and that puts them in the hat now for the Plum Properties Railway Cup semi-final draw when we get that done. But today got a bit of an honest match report, and it was Premier League, Peel 1, Laxey 0. Lee Gale it was who scored from the penalty spot after 10 minutes. Perhaps there might have been a more emphatic victory if Lee had not put a second penalty wide after 16 minutes. So tough day for him in that period, but a game where defences were the winners. Peel struggled for fluency in the second half, and Laxey put on lots of pressure in that 93rd minute. Brodie Patience took out Lewis Moran and received a second yellow card, so another suspension coming for him. And unfortunately, Lewis Moran retaliated, and he too got a red card. So both teams finishing off with 10 players apiece.
We spoke about the games going into today with Paul Moran on Saturday Live earlier today, and I remember reciting the fact that when I spoke to Matty Woods after the game that clinched Peel the title last season, and what he believed was one of the keys to Peel's success last season was even when they weren't in top gear, they were still grinding out results today. It sounds like it hasn't been all their own way up against Laxey today, but still grinding out 3 points. That's a gritty result, would you say, for Peel?
Yeah, it's a good result because, Laxey don't be hoodwinked by their position in the league because they're a very good side, and for whatever reason, the results haven't been coming in for them. But I'm sure Johnny Palmer, the manager of Laxey's, read the right act to his players this week and just expected a little bit more from them because, on paper, they're a very, very strong side. But Daniel Bell, he's mixed it round nicely with that Peel side. And when you look at some of the young players that are coming through, I look at Scott Horn, Izzy Dunn, Sam Kenyick, who I think over the last season and a half, if you like, we're coming up the halfway stage this year, has looked tremendous at the back with Luke Doherty. So, it's all looking well for them. And Owen Dawson in goal, I thought was tremendous last week against Ramsey. He did everything right. When they needed him, he was there. And that could be a big, big difference for them because it's now starting to sort of look like a 2-3 horse race, isn't it? Because, St Mary's have dropped points but still in there. But Ramsey looking strong, Peel looking strong, and Ayr United are still undefeated.
And coming back to Laxey, as you've alluded to there, so plenty of quality players in that Laxey squad there, and high expectations maybe going into this season. So maybe from those you've spoken to who might have an insight into this over in the Laxey camp, where is the balance not quite right that means they're just not getting the results at the moment to match the expectations that were there at the start of the season?
I think probably the balance is that the players that they need at times aren't there. Jordan Cooper's one. Now, Jordan Cooper has been around for quite a while and he's not particularly old, but he does seem to sort of pick up injuries or, whether he's got work commitments, I'm not too sure, but disappears. And this season, he really started well, scoring lots of goals. And suddenly Jordan's injured and he's not available. Ryan Gartland, needless sending off he got against St Mary's. Ryan Gartland's an Ireland player, so they've missed out on him. Tom Creer's been in and out, but now he's left. So it's been a bit of a struggle for them. But, I just look at Adam Elan as well, as missed a few games, so they needed him in there for his experience. And the rest of them, when you look at Tom Cowan, Tom Kenny, they're good players and they've just got to keep going. And Glenn Walker, a good goalkeeper as well. But it's that confidence. We keep saying about that. It's like in any sport. If you've got that confidence, then you just seem to have that extra bit of energy, don't you? And a bit of stride, more strides in it. But they haven't got it at the moment. And, they slipped down the table again today with Russian going above them.
Brief segue once again into hockey. We've got another result in the mixed under-15s league. That's just come through. It finished Valkyries 3, Castletown Sharks 5. So just that, Valkyries 3, Castletown Sharks 5 in the mixed under-15s league today. Back to the footballing side of things and back to the Premier League. Douglas Royal up against Ramsey today at Ballafletcher. Douglas Royal may be looking to try and build on what's been a little bit of a better spell from them in recent weeks. Meanwhile, Ramsey, after that home defeat against Peel, which they may have been disappointed about last time out, two of the sides vying towards the top of the table, looking for a bit of response today, the Northerners, in this strong season so far for them today. And Tony, you were at this game particular today, so I won't take any thunder away from you, but it finished Douglas Royal 0, Ramsey 3.
Well, I have to be honest, within 2 minutes I thought Douglas Royal were going to take the lead because Dominic McCarry-Brennan ball threaded through to him, and he's a good finisher, but it didn't happen for him today because the goalkeeper James Rice was there, and it was as if it was two outfield players. The defender was just shadowing him with his legs, and by the time Dominic decided what to do, he put it to the left-hand side, which was disappointment for the team. But then, the goal that sort of broke the deadlock in the game was Jamie Agnew playing against his old club, and the ball played through to him, and Jamie and the goalkeeper were sort of racing out together, and James Lowy unfortunately mistimed it completely, and the ball ran free. Jamie was there and slotted it past to make it 1-0. Second one, same scenario. Dylan Pickles, who was substitute today, Dylan had come on and James had the ball. He kicked it out. It hit Dylan Pickles and went into the back of the net. So 2-0 it is. So a lot more secure then. But then he changed things around. Darren Hudson, who signed for Ramsey this morning, came off the substitutes bench, and it was a great ball from James Agnew on the right-hand side, and Darren Hudson just opened the left foot, put it past the keeper to make it 3-0, and secure it was. Carl Watson had a chance towards the end of the second half, but Douglas Royal just couldn't do much about it. They didn't play badly. It's just that Ramsey took their chances, and actually, if Royal today had taken their chances, it would have been a lot closer, but it didn't happen.
Looking at Ramsey then, as we mentioned, that defeat last week, a good way to bounce back, and I think you mentioned you were down there as well, that Jamie Corlett was back in the squad today, may have picked up a slight knock mid-game, but also Charlie Higgins wasn't present for them today, and we know that of his goal-scoring exploits when he has been playing for Ramsey this season, but he wasn't with them today, Jamie Corlett into the squad as well today, but Ramsey, even without someone like Charlie Higgins and his goal-scoring abilities there today, getting the job done and looking pretty professional once again. Yeah,
it was a good job, and I thought, again, changed it round a little bit. I don't know what Anthony Cooper and Adam Hudson's reasons were, but Dylan Pickles last week was put on the bench. He came off the bench and he got a goal. But Rob Morton as well, I thought did all right on that right-hand side, and he was on the subs bench today. But Jamie Corlett, don't know what happened there, because it looked as if he limped off at the first at half-time and then came back on. And then it just didn't seem right for him. So after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they changed him round, and Matthew Montgomery went in the back. And it didn't alter things at all, because James Rice really wasn't tested, the Ramsey goalkeeper, today. But Jack Gilbert's got over that hamstring problem. He's come back in, so that's a good outlet for them down that right-hand side. But I just think if Charlie Higgins had played today and down that left-hand side, then that might have just created an awful lot of opportunities for Ramsey. But, Darren Hudson's a good player. He'll score goals. But Ramsey will be happy. That puts them on 25 points. That qualifies them in the Railway Cup.
And another brief segue into hockey. We've just had another result in as well. It's the final result we were waiting for in the mixed under-15s league. It's finished Backers-B 14, Castletown Sabres 0. We'll get some reaction, hopefully, with our hockey correspondent Ben Cunningham later in the show to take a look through all the results today. And what's been a big day for Manx mixed hockey today. League titles and relegation battles all taking place today. We'll see how they all unfolded as well. Let's head back to the football then. So let's take a look then at the Canada Life Men's... we've just had a look at the Canada Life Men's Premier League. I need to turn the page over. That's what I need to do. DPS Limited Division 2 now. Some interesting connotations this weekend. The unbeaten league leaders Foxdale without a game today, as were Michael United, just a little further down the table, also pushing for those top spots. So this has given an opportunity at the top of the table for the likes of Castletown and Colby to try and start making up a little bit of ground on Foxdale up at the top today. And we'll start with one of those, Colby away at Governors Athletic today. And Colby, they've taken their chance to close the gap now as well. Colby beating Governors Athletic by 5-2.
Yeah, tremendous performance in the end by Colby. It was a bit tight at one stage, and Governors Athletic are doing well against these top sides now, aren't they? And they got Michael coming up shortly. But today, the first goal was scored by Carl Hickey. Got another one later on. Matty Costain got one, and Paul Whitley with a couple of goals there for Colby. For Governors Athletic, Kyle Jackson got a goal, and Mackenzie Parker got the other one. But Governors Athletic buzzing. I know they've lost, Rob, 5-2, but that's one of the top sides in DPS Limited Division 2, and they're running them so close, 5-2. They did it with Castletown. Fair play to them.
And just on that, earlier in the game, it was Governors and Colby were locked in a 2-2 draw for a little bit of a while before Colby just seemed to find that extra clinical edge to take the points there. But Governors Athletic, we spoke last season about how difficult a campaign it was at times for them for different reasons, but that fighting spirit was always there from last season as well, and it really is there. And like you say, although they may have come away empty-handed from those two games against Colby and Castletown, there seems to be some positive signs there for them.
Yeah, there's some really good performances in the first half, and then the second half they seem to be letting it slip, and this is what's costing them points. When you look at it, they've played 10 games now for 4 points, so they're next to the bottom, but their performances are probably better than their league position shows. So credit to them, because let's face it, over the years, whipping boys is the wrong word, but a team that's had to work really hard for any points, and it now just seems to be coming together quite nicely for them. The combination had a good result today as well, so credit to everybody there that's making it work. But I do think that the average age is helping them, Rob, because that was one thing Carl Hunter told me at the start of the season. The age band has come down an awful lot, and they signed some really good young players through, and it's helping to gel together with the more experience.
watch this space, I guess. On
exactly, definitely.
As well, but a good result for Colby again today, closing the gap at the top. Well, the other team that we mentioned trying to close the gap at the top today was Castletown, making the long journey up to the north to Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys, who themselves have certainly got it in their locker to trouble some of the big boys at the top. But Castletown, not only a professional, but an incredibly clinical performance today up north. They'll be very happy with that. They also closed the gap towards the top of Division 2. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 0, Castletown 7, Tony.
Yeah, and if my sums are right, they've closed the gap big time because they've gone top now, because those 7 goals puts them on a goal difference of 21. Foxdale are on 20, so it's been a great day for them. They played a game more than Foxdale. They've played a game less than Colby, so it's getting really interesting. But then look down at 4th. Michael are just loitering. We've played 8 for 18, but certainly today Danny Lane was the star. He got 4 of the goals. Alex Crawley, team sheet without a goal scorer of Alex Crawley's name on it. Never looks right for Castletown, but he's done it today. Fingal Watterson got 1, and Ash Egan, I'll bet you that Ash Egan's was a header. Because he's good in the air, Ash, but great result for Castletown, 7-0.
I've actually seen footages of Ash Egan's goal, and I can confirm it is not a header.
Oh, it's not?
It was not a header. It was a rebound from a corner that was half cleared, and he just rifled it into the bottom corner.
With his head?
No, not with his head, with his feet. I couldn't say just off the top of my head whether it was left or right footed just at this moment in time, but it was definitely with his feet. Did see the footage on social media out there.
Good on him.
But yeah, Castletown, 7 goals again today. We know the firepower that Castletown have got going forward. They struggled to break down Foxdale last week as well, but if that is going to be of a big help to their goal difference in that chase toward the top, and it seems like there are 3 or possibly 4 teams vying for those top 2 spots as it stands, when it comes to later in the season, if it is still that close, that goal difference could probably come in handy if Castletown continue this goal-scoring run. Yeah,
definitely, and we've been talking about it, haven't we, that we're quite impressed with the Foxdale's forward line. The 3 up there are looking really good, but Castletown have got like 3 centre forwards who all, vying for that number 9 shirt, and that's the one where they could have a few problems with it. But Danny Lane, when you look at him, really good player, good goal scorer. Nathan Cardy as well's in there, and Alex Crawley. They can mix it round a little bit, and Gary will get the best out of that team. But Division 2, the DPS Limited Division 2 is looking really good, because when you look at the teams that are up there and clubs that have tasted Premier League before, Foxdale, Castletown, Colby, Michael United haven't, but being Division 1, it's real good going. And then don't forget about Onken, because Onken have played less games than the rest, but they're the team that were relegated, and now they're the team that are going to push to try and get the points that they can off the other teams around them and try and get that championship one.
Speaking of Onken, they were part of 2 of the games that were postponed in DPS Limited Division 2 today. So just a reminder, the 2 games postponed, both due to waterlogged pitches in Division 2 today. Jims versus Onken and Douglas High School Old Boys versus Maloo. There was another game taking place in DPS Limited Division 2 between 2 sides really looking to try and get some points on the board in what's been a challenging season so far. Pulrose United hosting Douglas and District, and Douglas and District coming out on top in this one by 4 goals to 2, Tony.
Yeah, they were, and I think Pulrose took the lead after 14 minutes from Callum Dunn. He got his second on 88, but obviously since then Douglas and District have got 4 goals. Steve Mulhern with 1, Daniel Stewart-Clegg got a goal, Richard Radcliffe from the penalty spot, and Ben Hall got the other one. So that's a cracking result for Douglas and District. And Dave Matheson has mentioned we're up to 8th now, Tony, after a slippery sort of start to the results, but they're coming good now and really pushing on against the teams around them, Governors, Maloo, Jims as well.
And for Pulrose as well, a tough start to the season. I think it's fair to say, if you're just looking at face value with points-wise at least. What positives can they take, not just from this game, but what's been going on already? They're battling away. They've given Douglas and District a run for their money at times during this game as well. So where can they see the light, I guess?
They've just got to keep chipping away, because it's been a tough season and a half for them last year and half a season this year. But, they've got a great committee there that work hard. I believe the changing rooms that are sort of being hoped to be built, it's starting to move on a little bit. So that's good news for them. And they get a side out every Saturday, which is not a problem for them, which is great. Their next step is to get a combination team next year, and I'm sure the boys are working hard on that one. But, today, again, it's played in good spirits. They've just missed out. They took the lead. Callum Dunn's a really good young player coming through, and they've just got to keep challenging the teams that keep coming up against them and try and get the points away from them.
Very well, let's take a look into the combination leagues then. Canada Life Combination 1, a couple of games postponed there. 2, Braddon versus Russian United postponed due to a waterlogged pitch, and Ramsey versus Douglas Royal also postponed for the same reason, due to an unfit pitch. But 3 more games going ahead. We'll start over at Ballafletcher. Corinthians 4, Ayr United 2.
Yeah, there's some roaring going on here, and I can see why it was happening, because 2 16-year-olds scored all the goals today, and Connor Clark started it off. He got the first one. Not too sure who got Ayr's equaliser, but then I think Corinthians got a second one, and a bit of a story to this one, because Caleb Higgle, he's 16 years of age this week, so he's only just been able to register for senior football, and in 10 minutes scored a hat-trick. So what a player he's going to be by the sound of it. Phil Donegan got one for Ayr United to pull it back to 2-2, but Caleb had done the damage, so well done to him. Great performance all round, and a lot of good young players coming through, but the goalkeeper, Nigel Moody, not too sure about that one.
Moving on, Laxey versus Peel, and Laxey, their first team beaten by Peel, but Laxey getting the upper hand in the combination leagues. Laxey 3, Peel 1.
Yeah, if you text us through, please, 166177 for Laxey's scorers. But Peel, Karen Christian, there's a top class player in his day. Still a good player, I'm sure, as well. Got the goal for Peel. 3-1 it was to Laxey.
Entertaining game over at Gary Moore as well, between Union Mills and Moran. The points shared, 3 goals each. Union Mills 3, Moran 3.
Yeah, right humdinger, wasn't it? And Oren Mitchell with 2 goals for Union Mills. Kai Stevenson got the other one, and for Moran it was Ethan Reddy, I think it is. Mikey Collister got one, and Hingo Hughes got the other one, 3-3.
Before we move on, I don't know if you've been crunching the numbers on this one as well, but over in Canada Life Combination 1, do we have what the permutations are right now for the league as it stands from today's results?
You can do. We can look at the top 4, and St Mary's, I wouldn't say running away with it, but they're 6 points clear at the moment. But with Union Mills dropping 2 points today, they've played the same games as St Mary's now, with 21 points, as St Mary's have got 26. Then you've got Ramsey, who've played 8 for 19. Ayr United slipped up today. They've played 8 now for 19. And then Russian are the team that we've got to keep looking at. They didn't play. But certainly the other teams at the bottom, Corinthians, that puts them on 6 points. So they go ahead of Braddon in that combination 1. So at the top of the table, it's all to play for.
Very well. And DPS Limited Combination 2, there were 2 games postponed here. Just a reminder, Onken versus Jims postponed due to a waterlogged pitch, and then also postponed due to a waterlogged pitch was Malou versus Douglas High School Old Boys. But 3 more games that went ahead in DPS Limited Combination 2, starting with Colby and Governors Athletic, and we spoke of just about a 3-3 draw. This was also similarly entertaining. Colby 3, Governors Athletic 3.
Yeah, it was. Haven't got Colby's goal scorers, if you could please, 166177. But for Governors Athletic, Jordan Birchall got 1, Kevin Farragher got the second, and James Milner got the 3rd goal for Governors Athletic.
And then Douglas Athletic against Foxdale today. Foxdale's first team, as we mentioned, weren't in action Division 2 today. Their combi side in action today. Tough result for them, though, today, and a good one for Douglas Athletic. Douglas Athletic 5, Foxdale 1.
Yeah, and Lee Ford on the score sheet again. 2 goals for him last week, 3 today. Richard Foden as well. There's a blast from the past. Good player. And Rob Blackensgo got the other one. Good result. Haven't got Foxdale's goal scorer.
Cal Wade, Foxdale's goal scorer in that one. So, just to throw that in for you there, that Cal Wade getting the goal for Foxdale today. And Castletown versus Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Castletown's first team, big winners over Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys in Division 2 today, but a role reversal in DPS Limited Combination 2. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys with a very commanding victory themselves today. Castletown 1, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 6, and it was all about one man today.
Oh, it certainly was, wasn't it? Ross Crawford, it was. Used to play for Jims and playing for Ramsey Youth Centre now, and he's more of a defender, but maybe playing centre forward now, because 6 goals for him today. Well done, Ross. And Ash Hansbury it was who got the other goal for Castletown. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 6, Castletown 1.
Those are the results across the board today in the Isle of Man football leagues. And just a reminder as well today, for those who missed it yesterday, NWCFL Premier Division FC Isle of Man's fixture at Colne today was postponed yesterday. That due to a waterlogged pitch over at the Norrie Stadium. That game will be rearranged in due course. Well, Tony, let's just have a quick look back towards the Premier League. We've already mentioned it a couple of times so far, but just so people can get a bit of clarity on it, the Plum Properties Railway Cup place is still up for grabs here. Ayr United and Peel Peel have now guaranteed themselves places, but 2 more spots up for grabs. With the games being postponed today, how many weeks do you think we still have in terms of fixtures still to be played until we have a very clear picture of who those other 2 teams will be?
Right, we've got one in. Ramsey are in. They've got 25 points, so they're in now. The 2 I'm looking at is St Mary's are on 23, played 11, and Corinthians have played 10 for 18. Corinthians play St John's next week, but the game today was postponed against Ayr United. So if they beat St John's and St Mary's get beat by Ayr next week, and that game's going to be a belter next Saturday, St Mary's against Ayr, then I would need to play the Ayr and Corinthians game. But if St Mary's and Corinthians, if the results go sort of against them, St Mary's could be that 4th team. So at the moment we've got Ayr United, who've played 10 for 30. You've got Peel who've played 11 for 27, and then you've got Ramsey who have played 11 for 25, and I think Ramsey's last game to complete the halfway stage of the season is Marown. So it's all to play for, but that game, St Mary's against Ayr, that's at the Bowl next Saturday.
And if we look at this to the same period that we were in last year, and just happened to be that the weather and other factors, there was so much disruption left, right and centre that meant the Railway Cup was moved toward the end of the season. We're in this position. I don't want this to be the broadcaster's curse. I want to put that on record, but we are close now, as you've said, to getting the Railway Cup potentially on board and on track maybe for the semi-finals and then the final possibly December time. So if we are to get those games all done and dusted, and we do have those 4, is the plan still remaining to potentially have that Railway Cup final on Boxing Day?
Definitely. We've booked the bowl, so it's got to be. No, I'm only joking. The way I see it is that next week completes the halfway stage of the season. Then on the 2nd of December, we've got the Railway Cup semi-finals, the Plum Property Railway Cup semi-finals. But if we do have a problem with that Corinthians and Ayr game and we have to play it, that will be played on the 2nd. Will we do the semi-final draw? I like to have the 4 in the hat on semi-finals if we can. Sometimes you can't when you look at some of the competitions. So we might have to just shuffle the pack around a little bit. But certainly at the moment, that is the plan. But it'll all hinge next week on what we have to do with the games where we've got St John's and Corinthians, and we've got also St Mary's against Ayr United.
And just to revisit a point that we briefly covered last night as well over on Friday Sport Preview with the Cup competitions, new sponsors secured this year. We've mentioned Plum Properties sponsoring the Railway Cup this year, and Manx Quality Sheds now coming on board for the next 3 years to support the Hospital Cup going forwards. And the fact that local businesses, even though they have changed at times over the years, they're still coming on board to offer their support to Football Association competitions. What does that mean to the FA?
It means everything. I'll just look at one. I know we had the conversation last night and don't want to repeat myself, but they're big competitions. The Railway Cup, the Hospital Cup, they're huge in the Manx football calendar. And to me, the best day of the Manx football calendar is that Boxing Day. When I think back over the years of, the finals that we've had and how it goes around, it's just a fitting day. Everyone's had a great Christmas day, and then they move on to Boxing Day, and it's a sport day, isn't it? And the Premiership's on, all sorts of games, and you've got the, Railway Cup final on. And it's just a brilliant occasion, I think, right the way through. But just, financially, sponsors know, or probably don't know, what a massive part they play in all sports. Come away from football, we look at rugby, you can look at netball, everything else. You look at that netball competition last week, it's absolutely brilliant. I kept an eye on it right the way through on social media. And it's just, all I can say is thank you to all the companies that, sort of sponsor anything to do with sport, because it costs a lot of money. And I look at football, we have to look after facilities, clubs do, and everything, and it all sort of filters through to help them to keep their subscription down. But it's just great to see these companies coming through, and signing up for 3 years just gives us an opportunity to relax a little bit, not have to worry about that. And when you look at Canada Life, I go back to them 2019-20 with COVID, we couldn't find a sponsor for women's football, and Sean, Vicky and Dan there just said, do you need any help? And we've got this women's here, could you help us at all? And they came in and helped them, sponsored them through the Island Games. These businesses across the board are so valuable to sport.
Just to pick up on another subject as well, and just for those listening out there, we are looking to link up with Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham to get the lowdown on today's rugby and hockey results shortly as well. Hopefully we will have that coming up in the next few minutes. But Tony, just to revisit a subject that, again, it was a big debate over the summer, and efforts were made by the Isle of Man FA, but the situation with refereeing levels across the Isle of Man, and there were other referees brought on board, some of them at the junior level, to then bring them into the to the senior game. And from the FA's perspective, whether it's yourself or someone else in the organisation, likewise, week to week over the past few weeks, how has the situation been to get enough officials to get these games going?
Spot on. Everyone's doing a great job. Paul Hoskinson's doing a really good job. And also when you look at, Kevin Maitland as well in the office, he just keeps it all nice and running. The new referees that have come in have done a really good job. They've, just climbing up the ladder, and some of them have done games that you would have to wait maybe a year, 2 years to do. So it just shows you how good they are. And I don't know his name, apologise, but I watched the new referee refereeing today, Corinthians against Ayr United, and it was a little bit sort of challenging at times, I would think, with some of the tackles, but he dealt with it well. The book was out, and massive respect, and that goes a long way. And the good thing about it is the younger referees are sort of coming in and doing a really good job. And, I was talking to Jane Ann Doyle this morning, and, she's a lady referee, and, going for, level 5, that's some going. That's high qualifications, and it's great to see. And just because the season started doesn't mean they can't come back in and start refereeing now. So anyone who's thought about it, come away from it, fancy a chance, then just get in touch with the FA and we'll guide you in the right direction of how to do it.
Because we are in that situation at the moment, aren't we, that it's usually just one official in the middle. Just in terms of numbers, it's not always available to have, say, two assistants out on each opposite flank. So, I mean, if we're looking at numbers going forward, would they have to rise significantly to be in a situation where you could have, say, hypothetically, every game in the top flight have 3 officials in one game?
We've seen it. We've seen. I look at Liam Thomas, who refereed last week on his own. Ramsey against Peel, tremendous. The goal at the end, I know Lee Gale's probably looking at it and thinking that was a goal, but he couldn't do much about that when this stanchion inside the goal hit that and came back out, but he couldn't see it from his angle. But like today, Douglas Royal against Ramsey, we've got 3 officials on there, and it does help. And just towards the end, Rob, I'm watching it was a good position, and Anthony Quayle flagged for a decision to Peter Greenhill, and Peter hadn't seen the flag go up, but I just thought, I know what he's flagging for here. It's going to be a free kick to Douglas Royal, and I think he got it right. But then you've got comments coming from the side. Okay, they're there, they're watching a game of football, that's right. But then the referee spotted it, gave the right decision. It's so much easier with the linesman. Some people don't want to referee, but might want to do a line. We'll train you. We'll train you at the FA. There's so much skill set in there. We just need the people to have the enthusiasm and take it up.
Is maybe one of the aspects of it the promotion as well of what's there? It's not just we'd like to encourage people into the game, but trying to let people know we do have these structures in place to give you all the training and guidance you need. Yeah,
I think it's one of those as well, Rob. They don't sort of get you qualified. I think it's 6 games, is it? Something like that. And then you're okay to crack on. They have mentors with you. They have mentors as much as they can going through, and, they'll come back with, positive sort of, things that they have to do, because they've got to accept that they're learning the game. And I know, speaking to sort of Caleb Maraby, who's one of the new referees who's come in, and he said the help that he's received is immense, and he's just going on leaps and bounds. And at times when he makes a decision, it's an awkward decision. He feels guilty if he's got it wrong, but we're human beings. We get things wrong. And that's why it's just at the moment, I think we're going in a good place, and we want it to continue, because when you look at when you've got referees of nearly 80 and 70 years of age refereeing, that's great to have their experience in there, but how long can they continue? We want the young ones in there.
Well, Tony, thank you very much. I know we've covered so many different aspects as well as the results today, but as always, your time is hugely appreciated. Thank you very much, and we'll be catching up with you again soon.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, I think it's fair to say we've covered everything, all matters football there today, with the results and the talking points that are within the local game over the last few minutes. But now it's time for our attention to turn to rugby, and a busy day on Ireland today has seen 3 teams involved in round-robin friendlies as part of their preparations for their upcoming Cheshire Plate and Bowl competitions. Meanwhile, Douglas, another tricky test for them in the Regional 2 North West today, away from home at Crewe and Nantwich, and hopefully we can now catch him on the other end of the line. Dave Christian will hopefully have the lowdown for us on all the games that have been taking place today. Good evening, Dave Christian.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. Douglas derailed at Crewe, I'm afraid. It's the final game of 3 against the top 3 sides in Regional 2 North West. And I'm guessing that at least my expectations weren't brilliant for Douglas going into it. They may have had a little bit of more confidence after the close result against Bowden last week, but it's finished with a 39-18 defeat away this afternoon, which is terrible, bad luck for Douglas. However, the good news for them is that run against the 3 top sides is now over, and their next fixture, they've got a week off next week. They have a game on the 2nd of December against Winnington Park, who are, I'm going to say, fellow strugglers. Douglas are currently in 10th place in Regional 2 North West, and Winnington Park are only just above them in the standings. Winnington Park have played 10, won 3, whereas Douglas have played 10 and won 2. So not too much to choose in between the 2 teams. Even the points difference, Winnington Park minus 34, Douglas minus 54. For Douglas this afternoon, 2 tries for them, so no try bonus point. And it was Guy Barons and Liam Kirkpatrick who both went over for tries. Lucas Simmons converted 1 and added 2 penalties, but not quite enough to put Crewe and Nantwich off. They are in the top 3 for a very good reason, and they have fixtures to come against Birkenhead Park and Bowden, and will really fancy their chances for promotion come the end of the season. I had a quick look at counties for ADM before I look at those friendlies. Today's results, the only one that was really going to affect Vagabonds was Colne and Nelson, who are above Vaggers in the table. They were due for a home fixture against bottom side Blackpool. That game was postponed, so there is no change at the top end of the table. Vagabonds still in 3rd place. They are 4 points behind Colne and Nelson, although they have played 1 more fixture. Vaggers still without a fixture now until the 9th of December, when they go away to the league leaders, Ashton-under-Lyne, who have played 5 and won 5. So big game there for Vagabonds coming up. This afternoon we did have those friendlies. Vagabonds looking to fill a gap in their fixture list. The other 2 sides, as you rightly say, Rob, looking for build-up before their Cheshire Plate and Bowl games next week. It was Ramsey who came out on top this afternoon. The games were only friendlies. They count for little. However, what bragging rights there were headed back over the mountain tonight. Ramsey beat Vagabonds 12-0 and Southern Nomads 24-14. And Vagabonds won the 3rd game of the afternoon 7-0 against Southern Nomads. In the opening fixture, tries from Brandon Atchison and Nathan Robson secured the Ramsey win against Vagabonds. Atchison converted 1 of those 2 tries. In the second game, Vagabonds veteran Darren Thompson scored the only try against Southern Nomads. Cam Finley converted that for the 7-0 win. And that was actually a ball stolen by Darren Thompson from a Southern Nomads line-out. So fair play to Darren, who actually took his rugby kit off and put his refereeing kit on. And he refereed the final game between Ramsey and Southern Nomads, which turned out to be the highlight of the afternoon. Ramsey led early on, try from Brandon Atchison. Who else? Rob Crane, though, equalised for Nomads, and Mark Young's conversion gave them a 7-5 lead, which they held until the final 10 minutes. 2 quick tries from Ramsey, though, 1 from Nathan Robson and 1 from who else, Brandon Atchison, and he converted both of those, saw Ramsey go 19-7 ahead with 5 to play. Django Kinley hit 1 back for Nomads close to the end. Mark Young's conversion made it a 5-point game with the Ramsey lead now 19-14. But the final play of the game, I think, and I'm only guessing here at the moment, it was Nathan Brew who went over for Ramsey's try to just secure the win. Not that it meant much, it was a friendly fixture anyway, but great preparation for Ramsey. The only worry for them this afternoon was an injury, looked like a thigh injury for fullback Joey Callow. He was involved in a collision on the ground, 2 players sliding in for the same ball, and Joey Callow came off worst. he's back on his feet and smiling afterwards, attributing his injury proneness now to his new haircut. But he says he's going to grow his mullet again and all will be well. So he was in good spirits despite having to leave the field. Hopefully he'll be recovered in time for next week's away fixture against Moore in the Cheshire Plate. So fingers crossed for a speedy recovery for Joey. That sort of rounds off today. We've got next week Cheshire Plate and Bowl action, but with all teams playing away. I think we've got Western Vikings away at Aldershot, Ramsey are away at Moore, and Southern Nomads away at Knutsford. But that's to come next week, Rob.
Dave Christian, thank you very much, as always.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, a big day again today in mixed Manx hockey as league titles and relegation battles still to be decided going into this weekend across the respective divisions. Plenty on the line in plenty of games today, so plenty to digest from the different results that have been happening across the Isle of Man today. And therefore, for the first time this evening, it only feels right to bring him in. He's been waiting very patiently over the last few minutes. A very good evening to you, Ben Cunningham.
Good evening, Rob. Good to speak to you. Sorry I can't be with you in the studio. I've spent the day in Ramsey. I've had to help umpire, and I've also had a good game today, but we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, some big results to talk about.
Indeed. Well, let's dive right into it. Let's look at the mixed Premier League and two games that many people have had their eyes on. One of those, an earlier pushback, 12:35 QE2 in Peel. The league leaders Valkyrie up against Castletown Celts, and Valkyrie, knowing had they won today, it had put them in pole position to try and get themselves crowned mixed Premier League champions. But it's not been all their own way today. They've been held by Castletown Celts. Valkyrie 2, Castletown Celts 2, Ben.
And what do we say every week, week in, week out? Never rule out a Castletown team, and Castletown have done it again. They've proved a shock, and they've made things really interesting going into the final weekend of the mixed leagues. Archie Cox and George Powell for Castletown Celts, and then for Valkyries, it was Ollie Webster with both goals.
Well, Valkyries led both Vikings A and Backers A, who played each other today, by 2 points going into this one. Vikings A and Backers A, either side would have to win really to give themselves a chance of trying to catch Valkyries in the final game of the season. And between these two rivals, Backers A have come out on top once again over Vikings A. It finished Vikings A3, Backers A5, and that puts Backers to within 1 point of Valkyries at the top of the table. And Ben, Valkyries and Backers both face off next week. What a game that's going to be.
That's going to be an absolute cracker, and we'll be trying to make sure we cover it for Saturday Live because I'm sure it's going to be an absolute thriller. Backers, though, they've come out on top against Vikings A. Andy Whiting with 3 goals, Elliot Reid with 1, Jamie Brown with 1, and I'm just looking to see if I can find the Vikings goal scorers, and they were Sarah Blackman, Alex Andrews and Tom Burrows.
So it's all between Valkyries A and Backers A for the mixed Premier League title next weekend. That looks like a cracking game, as Ben says. The other game in the mixed Premier League today was a 5-2 pushback over at King William's College. Backers B up against Harlequins A, and a good result for the latter today. Harlequins A beating Backers B by 5-2.
Yeah, great result there for Harlequins A there, and that should, in theory, keep them in pretty much safety. However, they do have to play Vikings B next weekend. Looking at the scorers for that game, for Quins, it was Alfie Swales with 2, Rachel Middleton with 1, George Ratcliffe with 1, and Oren Blakemore with 1. And then for Backers, it was Carl Moore and Sam Franklin.
And last but certainly not least in the Premier League this week, two sides toward the bottom of the table. Vikings B took on Ramsey A at the NSC in the early pushback, 11 today. Ramsey A knew they had to get a result to avoid relegation today, and what a result it's been for Ramsey A today in a thrilling game at the NSC. Vikings B 4, Ramsey A 6, Ben.
Yeah, and I was talking to a few people up Ramsey who came from the game to Ramsey to support Ramsey playing in Ramsey, and they said what an absolute thriller of a game. It could have gone either way, and Ramsey have pulled it off, and they've kept their chances of staying up alive. For Ramsey, it was Nat Smith with 3, Sophie Crossgrave, Alex Neil, and Jan Kane. And then for Vikings, it was Alex Andrew with 3 goals. And I think Mia Greenwood as well. But
that is correct,
I'm not
yes.
too sure on that, yeah. I'm not too sure on that one, but a bit weird, the message. But yeah, Alex Andrew with definitely 3, and Mia Greenwood we've got there.
Indeed, but yeah, thrilling game there. Let's move into mixed Division 1 then. We'll start off with the early pushback there, 12:35. Bacchus C up against Castletown Southerners, and Southerners trying to make up ground on Valkyries B after losing out to that Valkyries B side last week, and Castletown Southerners getting back to winning ways, but they were made to work for it today. Bacchus C 2, Castletown Southerners 3.
Yeah, they really were made to work for it, and that means this division goes into the final weekend, and it could be decided on goal difference. So a big thrilling weekend we've got coming up next weekend. For backers, it was Craig Lease with 2, and then for Castletown Southerners, it was Eden McCubbin, Helena Allen, and Dan Robbins.
And then there were 2 games pushing back at 2:05. One of those over at Castle Rushen High School straight after. Castletown Camags 2, Vikings C 3.
Yeah, and for Camags, unfortunately, that means they have been relegated, but they put up an absolute sterling effort. And for Castletown, it was Alistair Ledridge and Robbie Vall. And for Vikings, it was... I'm scrolling through messages rapidly. I don't know, have you got it handy there, Rob?
We don't have those at the moment, so if anyone out there... associated with Viking C has any details on that in the next couple of minutes, text us 166 177. In the meantime, we'll move over to the next game, the 2:05 pushback between Valkyries C and the league leaders Valkyries B, an intra-club derby over at QE2 in Peel, and probably as expected on paper is how it's turned out. The B team beating the C team by 6-2.
Yeah, and it was like you say, it was expected there. Kieran Gale with 2, Maxine Jones, Andrea Littlejohn, Neil Jacobs, and Christian Cadwell for Vikings B. And then for Valkyries B, and then for Valkyries C, I'm just trying to find it. Apologies.
I can tell you who they are, in fact, Ben, if you would like.
Go on, you do the honours.
I will indeed. So the goal scorers for Valkyries C were Chris Thomas and George Crellin.
And I've just had the scorers for Vikings C, and they were Morven Smith, Danny Murphy, and Charlie Bell.
Absolutely excellent. Thank you very much for sending those results in. Let's move into mixed Division 2. 3 games there. 2 of those were early starts, 11:05, starting with Bacchus Colts up against Castletown Cushags. A close game here, but it's the southern side, Cushags, coming out on top by 1-0.
Yeah, and this game was really to decide who could potentially finish runners-up in this league. And Elliot Butler has come out the goal scorer and winner, and potentially gave Castletown Cushags that runners-up spot in this division.
And the other one that started at 11:05 was between Ramsey Ravens and Valkyries D at QE2. Valkyries D, another victory for the club this weekend. The D team beating Ramsey Ravens 3-1.
Yeah, great result there for Valkyries D. I'm just going through the scorers. I love it because Donna Harrison, who's the Valkyries captain, she sends an absolute brilliant report. Outstanding turnout in the second half from the Blues. Standout was Dean Liamuro, who gave so much energy and was able to provide, was brilliant up front. And I don't think she's actually put the scorers on the thing. Oh, there we go.
I
Scorers
have those
for the Blues.
scorers in
Ruby
front of me,
Buchanan.
Ben.
Go on, Ruby Buchanan, Mark Perryman, and Ollie Freer. I've got.
Indeed, and the sole goal for Ramsey Ravens coming from Jenny Lantry.
There we go, spot on.
Excellent. And the final game in Mixed Division 2, 2 teams at opposite ends of the table. Another intra-club derby, Vikings D against Vikings E, with Vikings E knowing they would have to win against the Vikings D side that have already wrapped up the Mixed Division 2 title. Unfortunately, not to be for Vikings E. Vikings D ruthless today against their E team. Vikings D 13, Vikings E 1.
Yeah, and as I said in my preview, it was going to be a long, hard, tough task for Vikings E to get something out of it. And as you say, unfortunately, that has confirmed relegation for them. Have you got the goal scorers for Vikings D and Vikings E?
I have the goal scores for Vikings D. So Katie Eric with 6 goals this afternoon, a hat-trick as well for Ian Perry. Then there was a brace for Jacob Harding, so 2 for him. And then goals apiece for Joe Roney and someone called Sam Spooner.
I wonder who he is.
Has had his association with hockey and Manx Radio in the last few years, I think it's fair to say. Well, finally, let's take a look at Mixed Division 3. There were 3 games there. 12:35, Ramsey Rookies took on Castletown Cosney. All these games took place in Mixed Division 3 at Ramsey Grammar School. The first of those, 12:35, Ramsey Rookies 2, Castletown Cosney 0.
Yeah, this was the first of 2 games I umpired today at Ramsey, and credit to Ramsey because they played the first half with 10 players and they went in 1-0 up, and then the second half they got full strength team, had 11 players on the pitch, and they looked really good, and they caused Castletown no end of problems. I was going to say, have you got the scorers for the remaining games? Because it'll probably be easier for you to just read them out now, Rob.
I'm taking control, that's what I'm doing.
My phone's given up.
Well, for Ramsey Rookies, it was Dan Byrne and Dan Stevenson were the names that came over on the score sheet to us here at Manx Radio to give Ramsey Rookies that 2-0 win. 2:05 pushback at Ramsey Grammar School saw Harlequins B, already crowned champions last week, up against Backers D. Harlequins B 7, Backers D 1.
Yeah, really good performance for Harlequins B there, the second game I umpired, and Backers gave them a good test. I mean, they went Harlequins went 1 up, but then Backers equalised quite quickly after. But then after that, Harlequins showed their true pace and skill, and they went on to get the victory. And if you'd like to give us the scores?
I can indeed, I certainly can. So Harlequins B's goal scorers, there was 4 for Callum Crellin, so a good goal scoring return for Callum Crellin today. There was also 2 for Corey Corkle, and then a goal as well for Tom Hurd.
Absolutely brilliant.
And then last but certainly not least, to round things off in the senior leagues this weekend, that was also at Ramsey Grammar School, 3:35. Castletown Carrick up against Harlequin C. Castletown Carrick 1, Harlequin C 5, and a very familiar name on the score sheet for Harlequin C.
I don't know who you're on about. Yeah, no, it was a great result there for Harlequin C. Yeah, really good friendly game, I must admit, and everybody on the pitch was having a good laugh. Even the umpires were having a good laugh, and I mean, credit to everyone who played on that pitch because it just got finished before the heavens opened in Ramsey. I know they say it's always sunny in Ramsey, but the heavens just opened as the full-time whistle went, which I think a lot of people were relieved at. But great result for Harlequin C. And if you'd like to read out the scores.
I can indeed. I just need to get these ones up in front of me as well. I'll say, well, my note-taking is always a question to my colleagues here as well. So I'm just going to have to scroll back through here just to make sure that I've absolutely got the right scorers in here as well. So we have 3 goals for a certain Ben Cunningham and also 2 for Sean Dowling as well. And I don't know, Ben, if you have Castletown Carrick's score in front of you.
Oh, I think I do, but if you come back to us, I might find it for you.
Well, I was actually going to say, Ben, we are just about out of time today, but thank you very much, as always, Ben Cunningham, for joining us and giving us all the hockey analysis today. That's about all we have time for on Saturday Sport Classified this week. Thank you very much for joining us here on Manx Radio, DAB and AM 1368. We'll now be handing back over to Radio Caroline for the rest of the evening. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful Saturday night and a wonderful rest of your weekend as well. So from me and the team, until next time, it's bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.